podcastjuice.net.
The planet is restless, Captain. They want their podcast, and they shall have it. I'll beam down to the surface. You have the bridge. Captain, that is illogical. These are Trek fans. They will challenge and dissect your knowledge with great emotion. It is a mission fraught with danger, peril, and grave risk. Suggestions? Send in the red shirts.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Q Storm, and let me tell you, we got a hot one today. Today we're going to be reviewing Star Trek Discovery. Yes, people, it's finally here. We finally saw it last night. CBS, we saw the first hour on CBS. We saw the second hour on CBS All Access. And we're going to get into it. We're going to jump right into it. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce everyone. We're going to go around the horn. As I said, I am Captain Q Storm.
For now.
Right. To my left is Mr. Craig J. Craig, how are you?
You're a red shirt. You're not a captain. But anyway, I'm great.
I am a captain red shirt.
Yeah.
Picard wore a red shirt. Now, to my right.
Picard can work his computer.
To my right. Insubordination already. To my right. We have Mr. Big Sexy. How are you?
I'm great, and Orville was not as bad as you're making it out to be.
We're going to save that for later, but I'm putting you in the brig right now, and I hope the Klingons lobby a photon torpedo right at the brig. But moving on, we also have two very special guests. One of these gentlemen, he was nice enough to come back after being on the show a couple weeks ago, and that is Mr. Robb Gallo, and with him, he has Mr. Tom Connors. Both of these esteemed gentlemen are from the YouTube channel, which I implore you to go check out, Midnight's Edge. Gentlemen, how are you tonight?
I am just fine, and I implore everyone to check out the Red Shirt podcast.
Well, we love the sound of that. Now, who was that talking just then? Who was that?
That's Rob.
That's Rob. Tom, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
All right.
Asking.
Asking. That's okay. You know,
I'll let that slide.
Tom's from the streets, so he's
No.
the streets of Wisconsin.
No, he was.
Yeah, the rural streets.
That was his Klingonese from last night.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait. Let me shove my mouth full of crap first, and then it'll sound right.
Okay, I think we got.
Terrible. They're really saying, "Somebody please help me. We're choking."
I think we have a sense of where this is going. So, listen, people, let's just jump right into this. All right, so I wanted Rob to come back, and I wanted him to bring Tom because as I said, Rob was on the show last week, and we speculated as to what we were going to see this week on Discovery. And Rob, I got to say, you were pretty vociferous about your feelings towards Discovery. And I wanted to bring you onto the show. We're just gonna all pile on. This is gonna be a free for all. I just wanted to bring you on.
How do you spell vociferous? No.
We'll handle that later. We'll get the universal translator. But Rob and Tom, please chime in when you feel it's apropos. Rob, you weren't very happy, from what I could tell, with Discovery. And I wanted to bring you on to ask you why you made some of the claims you made. Just talk us through how you felt about the show.
Not happy at the time. That was an understatement. That's what that's what 2 cups of coffee and a shot of espresso will do for you. I was on a major caffeine kick, but that's another story. But anyway, I was not pleased. I sat down. I started watching the first installment of Discovery, and the way I described it actually to Tom was that 10 minutes in, and I'd felt that I had been there for 2 hours. It was pretty from the get-go. It was pretty bad. Wow. The dialogue was stiff. It was wooden. None of the characters seemed like real people. None of them spoke like real people. And everybody on the bridge and everybody in the crew of the Shinju was an idiot. And I'm not sugarcoating it. They were the stupidest people I've ever seen in the Trek universe. It was unbelievable. And I just kept asking myself, what the hell am I watching? I can't believe what is going on. It was just, and as the first installment of the pilot kept going, it just did not get any better. Every single frame was just crammed with as much visual information, and it was just overwhelming, and it was just no scenes were allowed to breathe, and the stupid 60s canted Batman TV series camera angles. I mean,
and then Sonequa Green's posing in every shot too.
Yeah, she looks like she's like an Abercrombie and Fitch model. Like everything. She's got that arched back. She's like, yes, don't I look dignified? Oh, I'm.
And anybody who ever complained about JJ's lens flare,
I put on sunglasses.
Never
there were
again.
so many lens flares.
Never
It
again.
was unbelievable. It was just, and I will give it up. The second installment was better, but the bar had been set pretty low to begin with. So that was just, it was just. I want to.
Well, let me ask
Go
you.
ahead.
Can you give me an example of some of the? Because this is what really intrigued me about what you said. Some of the dialogue that you said was wooden and stiff. I don't know. Now I've only seen each show once, so I'm going strictly by memory. Can you? I don't know if that's the same for you, but can you give me an example of what you felt was stiff dialogue or dialogue that didn't ring true to you?
Okay, well,
Give me a scene.
Okay. I do know that. Well, the whole exchanges, all the exchanges on the planet, first of all, where they're trying to save the water, those came off as very, very unnatural. And I do like Michelle Yeoh. I liked her when she was in the Bond movie Tomorrow Never Dies. She was playing a Chinese agent. That was nothing. She's just not a very good actress. I'm sorry. And the Klingon, the dialogue of the Klingons, even though it was in Klingonese, it sounded like somebody was struggling to read it phonetically. It really did. And
Klingons were terrible.
Yeah, and again, they all sound like they had a big hunk of tuna melting from Subway in their mouth. I'm like, oh my God, would you just speak English for Christ's sake?
Yeah, and they didn't
Make
really.
the whole thing easier.
And the main one especially didn't really know where to emote, it seemed like. And I said it to Rob, it was like the dialogue came off to me like stereo instructions or IKEA instructions. It was like very on set, just especially like the first scene he's talking about when they're talking back and forth, Michelle Yeoh and Sonequa Martin Green. It is just so bland and boring. And let's face it, this entire 2-part episode, this actually was one whole episode to begin with, and it was supposed to show as one whole entire pilot, but they decided at the last minute to split it in half. Well, quote unquote, in half, because the second episode only runs roughly just like 35 or 36 minutes, something like that.
Well, I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, well, they also tag on the preview for the rest of the season there at the end too to distract you. But if you cut out the preview or if you cut out the credits and you actually cut out that part, it's roughly probably about 35, 36 minutes. So it's barely like an episode. And then like it felt so generic, and you guys have already touched on the Klingons and everything else. And Sonequa Martin Green, bless her, she could be a great actress, but what she's given here to work with doesn't work for her. And she is trying to do this Spock impression, it seems like most of the time, and it doesn't work. Her character is just idiotic and does everything that happens is her fault. And we know this because of what happens at the end, obviously. But I don't know if we're supposed to get into spoilers or not right away. But
oh yeah, and by the way, yes, I am going to put up a slug that this is. We're going to go all in. I want all spoilers. I don't want any holding back.
Right. Okay.
Continue.
So,
Well, let me just say the first indication of Michael Burnham's idiocy, is that first scene on the bridge where the relay, the communications relay, It has a gigantic hole that's been blasted in it, and you can see it's visibly charred. And they're looking at each other. Gee, guys, what do you think caused this? Figure it the f*** out! Somebody stuck a shot at it.
Okay, so while he's taking his medication, Tom, yes. I want you to continue.
All right. So yeah, basically, just to kind of sum it up, what I did like about the story, or the show anyway, was Doug Jones's character was unique. It was a very unique character for Star Trek, because normally we get noble.
Wait, Doug Jones was the tall alien?
Yeah. What was his name? Zaru? Yeah.
Saru, right. Okay.
Saru or Zaru?
I think it's Saru with an S. It's spelled
with an S. Yes. Yeah. And his character's kind of unique, because we're so used to these dignified and heroic and over the top, very confident characters, to where we finally have a character who's obviously just a coward. And like Andre Midnight's Edge pointed out, he's very similar in a way to a rabbit, because his species were hunted and his instinct is to survive, and that's it. So every decision he makes is based upon that.
Well,
and that was
you
unique.
got to ask yourself, okay, now I'm going to come at this from a different angle. I'm not going to show all my cards yet, but I mean, is that really something that makes the character interesting, that he's a coward? Then how the hell did he get into Starfleet?
Right. Well,
that's a good question. We don't know how he got into Starfleet. Maybe he was fast tracked. Who knows?
Well, outside of Sonequa Martin Green, he's the only one in the entire show who gets any kind of character arc or real introduction, which leads us to obviously probably believe that he's going to show up later on, because that's another thing that sucks, is 90% of the people we met in the show died. So we haven't even met the actual crew yet. And we're obviously going to have to go through an arc of seeing Sonequa Martin Green get out of prison and all this other stuff yet. And that's where Andre was upset too, is because now we have a whole nother pilot to get through yet. All this stuff that we just saw in this quote unquote pilot 2-part episode should have been in the first act of the show. And then secondly, the last thing I'm going to say about it, and what really upset me most, was the Klingons and how they were presented, how they looked. They looked like they were wearing gold dresses. I'm not sure, they had the opportunity to say, okay, there's different kinds of Klingons when they had the scene where they're talking to the 24 houses.
Right.
They could have shown different kinds of Klingons. Like we could have seen a TNG Klingon. We could have seen, a original series Klingon, and something like, to where we can see, oh, okay, there is different like races of Klingon. This is not just the only one. Then we would have been a little bit more accepting of what's going on, because then at that point after that, because Sonequa Martin Green's Michael,
Burnham.
What's her last name?
Burnham.
Michael Burnham. She's the one who actually starts this entire war by killing the Klingon torch lighter in the first place, or torchbearer. Is that what he's called? Torchbearer?
Yeah.
She kills him in the first place. So that gives our villain clear motivation to do everything that he wants to do. But yet then he continues to spend the rest of the second half of the first, or the 2-part episode, basically the entire show, being a villain, being like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, just pulling it to the extreme and stretching it out as far as you can. It's like this guy already had more than enough motivation. All he wants to do is convince the 24 houses that they need to go after the Federation, and he's got everything he needs going into this.
Right.
From that moment on, it's just extra villainy bullshit, and really takes away from what Klingons really usually are.
I said to Tom that there was a point where the what was the Klingon, what was his name? Kutwa, or whatever it was. Takuma.
Yeah.
Takuma. Bless you. But anyway, there was a point you could have just swapped out Cobra Commander and would have made no difference.
Oh, God.
And then there's one last thing I'm going to speak upon, and that's it. And then I'll let y'all talk. I don't know who wrote this, but I think they confused this with Star Wars, because at what point does a Vulcan have Jedi powers and can talk to somebody across the universe?
Well, no, wait a minute. We know
I agree with that.
The Vulcans have vast mental abilities.
The Vulcans are touch telepaths, though. They actually have to make physical contact.
Yeah, that really pulled me out of the series completely. I was like, wait a minute here. I feel like I'm watching Obi-Wan Kenobi this is not Sarek. I don't know what this is. I don't understand this.
Use
And
the force, Luke.
Right, and it could have even been passed off as a dream, but he's sitting there pulling the whole, this is a strain on me and to do this. And okay, this is something that, as far as I know, has never been explored ever in the entirety of Star Trek before, as far as Vulcans are concerned. And that's what I have to say about that.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah.
All right. So, Craig and Big Sexy, we're going to partner you two up and see what we come up with. What did you guys think about the two-parter?
I'll let Mark take it first.
Okay, there were a lot of things that did not sit well with me. You know, one of them is the ascension of Sonequa Martin Green's character. At the beginning of the second episode, it said 7 years earlier she comes on the ship. And when she comes on the ship, she's doing that Spock / 7 of 9 pose on the bridge. I'm like, really? Get away from that. But, you know, Q and I were discussing this briefly via chat. No one goes from crewman to full commander in 7 years.
How do you know that?
It does not happen.
What are you basing that on?
Let's see. Look at any iteration of these shows. And actually they all run for 7 years, except for the original series and Enterprise, which was garbage. No one ascended that quickly. No one.
Well, and he does have also a point. Not only that, she acts like a rookie, if it's supposed to have been that long too. At the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not getting that I'm not. You know what? Now I'm going to say right now, maybe this is a little strong, but I loved the show.
Oh, wait. I decided. Wait, hold on.
Well, no. But I'm gonna.
I didn't say I disliked the show.
I want to defend.
Don't defend
Burnham
it
a little
yet.
bit.
No. Burnham's undefensible.
A rookie?
No. She's making rookie moves. She's got a rank she does not warrant, and then she went and committed mutiny. So
And
now
then-
she's in the slammer, so she's got to be busted down.
Right,
And
and,
I'm-
she's
and I'm-
raised and trained and taught by the same people who taught, raised, and trained Spock. Not
Exactly.
one thing that she does is anything Spock would ever do.
Well,
And
but
But
on-
anyway, yeah.
But
And on
also,
top of everything, she thinks she's the smartest motherfucker in the room. So too, and there's nothing more annoying than someone who thinks that they're the smartest guy in the room.
well, let me just say, in terms of she doesn't do anything Spock does, I will say that they present the Vulcans as very un-Vulcan-like when she claims that the Vulcans, whenever they came across a Klingon ship, would fire first. That struck me as not very Vulcan-like. So I think for this show, we have to kind of throw out what we think of Vulcans and what we expect of them. And so her emotional response to coming across this Klingon ship, I agree. It was like, well, wait a minute, where's that coming from? I think it came from the Klingons destroyed a Vulcan outpost where her family was living or something like that.
Yeah, she
Michael,
was like
right?
she was like the only survivor, and Sarek found her and raised her.
Right. So it did strike me as odd. I would agree that change came on way quickly, where she was logical and stoic, but then all of a sudden we have to fire first. However, in her defense, it's because, according to her story, Vulcans did not make the same mistake twice, and they had to give them a Vulcan hello, which is blowing the shit out of them, apparently, which I had a hard time with that, but they establish why she behaved that way, whether we like it or not.
Right.
They do establish it.
She committed mutiny. She's done. No way a full commander does this and gets out of the joint with maintaining that rank. No way.
Well, we don't,
she didn't make the same mistake twice, but she made a whole lot of other mistakes, though. That's the other thing.
okay, I'm going to turn it over to Craig real quick, and then we're going to chop it up a little bit more. Go ahead, Craig, your thoughts.
Okay, so my thoughts are that I, like you, love the show. And bearing in mind, I'm coming from the original series. So I watched the original series as my very first Star Trek. So I was looking for that comfort factor of the original series, and I found the comfort factor in the show where they've got the same bridge sound effects.
Yes.
They've got very similar looking phases and communicators, and just the way that the bridge operates is very similar to original series. Of course, the detraction is the fact that the ship looks more modern than the original series ship does. But I think we sort of have to look past that because it's 2017 now, and there's no way we would take a ship that looked like a 60s ship seriously. So that was my one thing there. Now, the other things that took away from the show for me, and as I said, I did like the show, the Klingons were just ridiculous. As Tom and Rob pointed out, they're talking with marbles in their mouth. I don't understand why they needed to do that. They spoke very slowly and un-Klingon-like. And as somebody pointed out as well, they could have shown the original series Klingon, TNG Klingons in there as one of the 24 the houses of Klingon. One thing that we could be saved from that is that they didn't show all 24 houses at the same time, as far as I could tell, or at least they didn't show them closely enough so we could see. So it could be that we just haven't seen some of them yet. The Klingon ships, again, look nothing like any of the series that we've seen. Although I did think I saw a Klingon battle cruiser at some point during the fight, that we'd seen in TNG or something. So that was a real disappointment. The Klingons, big disappointment. That's unfortunate, I think. And then of course that shot in the show, like having hologram communication between ships.
Yeah, that was bull.
We didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, the last thing I didn't like was the Vulcan talking across space bullshit. That's just unnecessary. She could have gone into her room and watched a video or something like that, a video playback. We didn't need to introduce some weird power that has not been explored before. That was unnecessary. But as I said, overall, I liked the show a lot. It reminded me a lot. They did a playback to the original series, which I really thought was great.
Well, okay, so I'm going to come right down the middle. I think you all make some excellent points, but you know what? Now, Big Sexy will tell you I'm a very hard person to please when it comes to pop culture and entertainment. I think movies and TV, well, not TV, but entertainment in general has taken a dive in the last 2 decades. So it's very rare that I like anything. It very rare. And I got to tell you, when I finished watching this show, I was walking on air. And part of that might have been, maybe I'm a little bit prejudiced, but I'm like, I want Orville to suck it. Okay? God. I want that show to go away. And what I was hoping out of this show was that at least be good enough so that I can say Star Trek is back. I don't need the Orville. And I think this show accomplished that. Again, all the complaints I had, the Klingons, the uniforms, they look like drum majors in a high school band. The technology is more improved than it should be. Whole host of things that we got into on the last show. But I got to be honest with you. What I got from the show far outweighs those problems. The first scene, I felt like, Rob and Tom, I respect your opinions immensely, so I'm almost crushed. But that first
you may not at the end of this.
So if it makes you feel better, if this was not Star Trek, it would have been enjoyable. It would have been a very well-crafted sci-fi show. But they're putting the Star Trek name on it. And at the same time, if they had just turned around and said, no, this is not Prime, this is a reboot completely, which they kept trying to dance around and we're still not 100% sure on, even though they've still gone both ways. If they would have said all that, I would have been like, okay, you're doing something different. It's an interesting take. I would have been a little bit more open to the changes and stuff that we saw. But unfortunately, a few sound effects and insignias are all I really got from it that felt remotely really Star Trek to me.
You did get the Vulcans, although I will say this. I'm gonna let me table that just for a second. I will, Big Sexy, you hit it on the head. I didn't understand what you were trying to say before, but you were 100% right. One of the things I didn't like about the show, I hated, was the actor playing Sarek. Oh my God, he did not come off as logical and unemotional. He came off as smarmy and smug. He was,
and I said that to Rob 3 months ago when we first saw the first trailer. Or one of the earlier trailers, I mean.
Yeah.
I said, that is the wrong guy they got playing Sarek. I've seen him on Gotham and a few other things. He's not going to do this character justice. He's the wrong
he came
actor.
Across as like his didn't stink. That's how he came across. But, all the things that I complained about, I thought they were far outweighed by the fact that I got the DNA of Trek in the show. I got the command structure. I got... like someone else just kind of derided. I got the sound effects. I got I got my number 1 back. I got my captain back. And I just got the feel of Trek. Now, it's not the Trek. This is how I sum it up. It doesn't look like Trek, but it felt like Trek to me. I thought the pacing was great. It was cinematic. It looked great. It was shot great. The cinematographer, I thought he or she did a magnificent job. That first
I agree
scene,
on that.
The first scene when they were walking in the desert, and I think one of you, I want to use my British term, poo-pooed it. I thought they did a masterful job at establishing these two characters. I felt like I knew who they were by the end of that scene, and I wanted to follow their story forward. Now, the one thing about Michael, I was watching it with my son. He didn't get the chance to see it last night, so he's watching it right now as we speak. And they came across the scene where the Klingons first appear, and Michael says, Captain, permission to leave the bridge. And I'm like, well, huh? No, that would never happen. You're the first officer. You don't leave a bridge. And she goes back to speak to Sarek. I thought that was a little clumsy. It's like, why wouldn't that have been on, why wouldn't that have been put on screen for the whole crew to see or something like that? That didn't strike me as and her running onto the bridge half naked, although I didn't mind the half naked part.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
That's, well, I am heterosexual.
Allegedly.
Oh,
All
oh
right.
my. Oh my.
That struck me as a little bit off, off kilter. But, man, it seemed like this was the first Trek iteration I've seen where the stakes seemed high to me. It was suspenseful. Everything moved. They moved at a good clip. And my complaints, other than the fact that it looks like Kelvin Trek and all the things that I've laid out since last year, other than those complaints, which are foundational, I was really happy with it. Even the Klingons, I have to say, I hated how they looked. I was like, I think I tweeted while I was live tweeting, I love the fact that they were speaking Klingon to each other, and we had to read the subtitles because we're Trek fans. We're intellectual people. We're willing to do the work. We'll read if we have to. I love the fact that they did not speak English to each other. That always bothered me. So I like that, but I did tweet, why does it sound like they're congested? I don't know why they went with that route, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the next episode. And the only other complaint I had, which is very superficial, was the music for the opening. For me, I don't know how you guys feel. For me, the opening of a Star Trek series, the opening of the show, is a signature moment for Trek, as far as I'm concerned. And this one, while I liked the visuals, the CAD renderings, almost like CAD renderings, it looked very what's the word? Like blueprints or
yeah. I understand. I understand it's supposed to look like blueprints or diagrams or whatever. Yeah,
I love it because it speaks to the nascent building. You think you see a blueprint, you think something's going to be constructed or built, and this is the Federation Starfleet in its infancy. I loved that. The music was a little bit disappointing. It didn't go anywhere. There was no build. Like, think of Voyager. Think of Star Trek, which uses the Jerry Goldsmith's theme. This one just kind of meandered, and then it just ended on the Star Trek flourish. So that was a little disappointing.
It felt to me like they were trying to emulate the Netflix series' openings, at least a little bit to me.
Yeah, I did not get that. I understand the point of the opening, but it did not have that majesty of a Voyager or of a Deep Space Nine, or actually, if you were to take out the Russell Watson theme from Enterprise and put like traditional Star Trek music, even that would be good because it shows you sort of the history of flight and man taking to flight and everything. But another one, you talk about the music. One of the things I noticed was that especially in the first part, every single second of screen time was occupied with background music. They did not just let a scene just breathe and let you just. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm like, that's what I'm like. Would you? And I'm like, would you just shut up and just let me enjoy the visual here? It just seems like it was a very kind of old Hollywood kind of idea where every single second has to have something happening on screen. It has to be either occupied by music, like there was, in radio, there's the whole rule, no dead air. It just seems like they did not want any dead air. And the Klingon, I guess we were talking about this with Tom the other just a little while ago. The Klingons, all their stuff was like very detailed, but it was all pretty useless. All the stuff they had, all the armor and all the details, it was all very ornate and all very well done and like I said, very detailed, but it really served no purpose. The Klingon armors usually has some sort of function to it, whether it's to deflect a bat'leth or whatever, or just to even look intimidating. And the bodies on the outside of the ship was completely dumb. All that did was to be a Deus Ex Machina for how they were going to destroy the ship later.
Well, I can understand where you're coming from. Believe me, I do. But this house of Klingons, I guess, T'Kuvma's house, it was my understanding that they were a more religious house, because they did speak about Stovall Kor a lot. I love that shout out. They spoke about Kahless a lot. I love that shout out. So to me, it read like this is a ritual that this house does because they are a more spiritual sect of Klingon, if you will. So it didn't strike me as hollow or as not legitimate. You know what I mean?
But if the dead are sacred, then you put them on the outside of your ship, and where they could just easily like blown off by a meteor strike. I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, you put them on the outside. I mean, that's like tying at the end of Vacation. They tie grandma to the roof of the car.
Well, no, I thought they were collecting all the bodies to bring them onto the ship. That's what they were doing. They were tractor beaming all of the bodies, weren't they?
They were,
that was later.
They were just they were recovering them, so probably so they could just put them back onto the exterior.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. They did have them all on the side of the ship. Exactly. That was a stupid idea. Definitely.
Almost like an extra level of
dumb.
Besides dumb protection, I guess. I don't know. And it was so they could fight with them. Was the whole reason they used for it. Was even in death they were still fighting alongside their brothers.
Strap them to torpedo tubes in that case. Jeez. Your final ride shall be a glorious one.
So one thing I wanted to say about the whole Klingon thing is they drew it out far too long. They could have told the Klingon story in a 10% of the time that they spent waffling on and on and on about this, that, the next thing. In previous Star Trek movies, you get the whole gist of what's going on in the scene by just a few angry, Klingonese words, not like spending 10 minutes waffling on to everybody. It was too much.
I do agree. The flashback with the kid T'Kuvma as a kid, I don't know what that lended to the plot, and that happened in this. No, that was actually the first episode. But yeah, I do agree that some of that could have been truncated. And after a while, even though I liked the Klingons talking in Klingon, after a while I was like, oh, okay, we got it. Let's move this along, please. Let's move it along.
I don't know if any of you guys are familiar or fans of Rick and Morty, but creator Dan Harmon, he actually had a very interesting bit about that. He says there is no way to make a character there's no better way to make a character less interesting than to tell his backstory. And to me, going into the mass amount of details about the Klingons and all their stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's interesting to a degree, but it's almost like telling the origin story of the shark in Jaws. You really don't want to. You only want to.
This time it's personal.
Much. Yes, exactly.
Well,
but the idea is to make them a menacing character. You don't want the audience to sympathize with them. You want to make them menacing. You want to make these guys are bad. It's sort of a simple, kind of easy black and white thing to get into, but you're diminishing the effect of these guys being the penultimate bad guy in the series by making them sympathetic, by making the audience, oh wow, I can kind of get why they would do that. I'm like, yeah, that makes me hate them a lot less now.
I don't know, Rob. I got to be honest with you. Since we know, let's put aside that it doesn't look anything like what we know of the Berman universe of Trek, but knowing where the Klingons are going to end up being, our friends of the Federation. That was one of the things that drew me to the Klingons. That made me, even though I was put off by their look, I found myself fascinated with learning about maybe just this particular ship or this house, I did find myself fascinated to learn more about their culture. I found them very interesting. Now, it went on too long, but I was captivated by the whole all that they presented about the Klingons. I wanted to learn more about them, and I like that balance, showing why T'Kuvma why I'm understanding his motivation, and even though I'm identifying with the Federation and Starfleet, I like having that balance between the two factions. But let me ask you real quick. One thing I did not get was I don't know if it was the way they shot it, but I could not tell how the Torchbearer Klingon got stabbed by Burnham. How did that happen? I could not make it out.
Yeah,
It was an accident. It wasn't an accident.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
it did seem kind of more like an accident. Yeah, but
she didn't want to kill him, but she ended up killing him anyway.
And one of you guys said that this was all Michael's fault, and I think that's the premise of the show. Because we know Jason Isaacs is going to say something like, "You started a war. You want to help me finish it?" And I'm like, well, wait a minute. When she got on the ship, she told the captain that we got to fire on him, and the captain understandably raised her phaser and said, "Stand down." What happened after that? 24 ships showed up. So really, Michael was proven right, wasn't she?
Yeah, but doesn't make her any less of an idiot, though.
Doesn't mean she was, and it doesn't absolve her of her mutinous actions.
I'm not saying that it doesn't. But and by the way, she's gonna pay the price. I assume something's going to happen when she gets to the Discovery.
Well,
just like with Tom Paris, he was in a Federation penal colony, and he got pardoned.
He didn't get pardoned.
Well, he was provisionally. He was on
provisionally on probation.
On probation, and they got launched into the Delta Quadrant. But that's we kind of know how that figured out. But another thing that, like I said, another stupid decision.
Rank at one point.
Another stupid decision. Actually, it was her fault to begin with because she wanted to go on this spacewalk when they could have sent a probe.
Right. Well, to be fair, yes, there was a plan set out to begin with for them to draw in the Federation, and they were going to start a war no matter what.
Right.
But all her actions up and through past the mutiny and everything were completely illogical, and even in the setting of the show, even if they are privy to, or if they are not privy, but important to things that are coming up later, that's one thing too. But you're putting it in a position where basically, okay, so what, they figure out that the Klingons were planning on starting a war no matter what, so that's why they pardoned her, because there's really no other reason to pardon her, and what other proof are they going to have, or that she didn't basically start this whole war. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well,
like I said, the other thing, like I said, it was just one. It seems like it was one stupid decision after another. There's a saying, just because, even though you see the trap, that doesn't mean you know it's a trap. You shouldn't take the bait. She deliberately, even if she knew it was a trap, does that mean you actually run headlong and say, okay, snap, and trigger it anyway?
Well, let me ask you guys. We're all Trek fans here. To me, that means you're condemning Spock in the motion picture for taking that spacewalk instead of launching a probe into V'Ger. I mean,
that was another stupid move. I get the whole point of Star Trek: The Motion Picture. It was supposed to be this big, awe-inspiring moment where it makes you say ooh ah ooh ah ooh ah. But that was actually
do that again, and I'll go baby.
Baby.
Yeah, it sounded like my every other weeknight for me around midnight. Anyway,
but
go on.
Okay,
baby. Anyway, yeah, I call Star Trek: The Motion Picture the slow motion picture. I mean, it really had its problems.
Of course,
this modern Star Trek,
no denying that. Yeah,
the modern Star Trek era, I perceive as starting at Wrath of Khan. So okay, the motion picture that happened. Let us never speak of it again.
I'm a fan of that film, though. I have to be honest. But I understand where you're coming from. All right, I'm going to throw a couple things out there real quick. Okay, this is spoiler. You've been warned. Is Michelle Yeoh dead? If she is, I'm pissed. I am pissed.
Be pissed.
Because
Yes, she's dead.
Be pissed. She was great too. I liked her a lot, better than I liked Burnham, and she had a lot to offer. But let's see what Isaacs can do.
She's dead, Jim.
Yeah, that was we get an Asian lead on a Star Trek show, and they kill her off. At least give her a season.
Well, Alex Kurtzman warned you, don't get used to anybody hanging around too long.
Although, you know what, this is Star Trek, right? And the Klingons could revive her.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, right. Yeah, maybe she's not truly dead. Okay, then let me ask you guys this.
She's dead.
I put up a YouTube video just a couple hours ago with my quick reviews.
I watched that, actually. Yeah. So I did watch.
Now, so you know what I'm about to say. I think that I think they missed something really big here. If the producers of this show, instead of making this a prequel, had made this 10 or 20 years past Voyager, or past I'm just going to the TNG time period, because Voyager, DS9, TNG were all in the same time period. I think all of the stuff that we were complaining about the Klingons, the look of the ship, the uniforms, everything, that would have been done away with, because it just would have been another evolution into Trek's future. What do you guys think about that?
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with it to a point, but then you're still left with the problems of an utterly stupid first officer and making really bad decisions.
Okay, wait, guys, Rob.
But all the aesthetic problems that you said about the technology and the ships and everything, a large amount of those you would be able to give a pass to.
Right, yeah. But I'm gonna back up a sec, Rob. Okay, maybe I'm slow. Big Sexy,
No,
shut it, Big Sexy. Okay. Maybe I'm slow. I need you to break this down for me.
Yes.
Okay. What were these stupid decisions that you're talking about that Burnham made?
Like I said, she starts a war. She commits a mutiny. She starts a war. And like I said, she decides that she's going to take a spacewalk into a heavily irradiated area, risk her own life for no good reason.
Which she had to talk her captain into doing in the first place.
Yeah. Like I said, when you could have easily just sent a probe or taken a shuttle. I mean, shuttles don't exist in this period. I mean, the only reason why we didn't see shuttles in the original series for the first half of the season was because of budgetary reasons, which is why they had the transporter, because they had to figure out a cheap way of getting people to and from the surface of a planet. It was.
But let me. Can I just?
Go ahead.
Let me throw this out to you. I don't remember the first half hour all that well in terms of dialogue and plot going from A to B to C. Like, why did she take the spacewalk as opposed to sitting on a shuttle? But maybe they suspected that there was someone lurking about, and the signature of a shuttle is much more significant than someone in a spacesuit.
Yeah, they actually did say there's somebody could be lurking. But again, though, if somebody's lurking, you don't risk somebody's a crewman's life on it. You send a probe. You send a probe to do it.
My friend, but Picard and Cisco and Voyager, they had no compunction about sending people down to demon planets and things of that nature.
Well, they would say it goes to launch a Class 2 probe. Probe away, sir.
Well,
yeah, like I said, it was just to me. Like I said, to me, it was just, and all of everything else just cascaded from that one bad plot point. And I was like, and that's where it sort of started to unravel for me. I'm like, okay, you know what? No, this is not going to end well.
I don't know, man. Okay, starting the war, we already kind of went over that. The Klingon snuck up on her and tried to cut her head off with the, I don't know if they call them batlets. He had a sharp sword. So what was she supposed to do?
Well, she defends herself, but she gets back to the ship, like, get back into sick bay. Oh, well, they nearly killed me. Yeah, and you probably deserved it. Sit down and get back into shove and get back into sick bay. any strong command, and if Captain Georgiou, she was an idiot for not telling her to just know your role, shut your hole.
Well, yeah. Well, we saw how that played out in Star Trek Into Darkness with Uhura putting her hand in the captain's face. Can I have a second, please? So this is the millennial Star Trek. I get. I don't know.
Oh my God! Like this guy with the ears, I didn't get it. I didn't get him at all. But I could see the irony in it all. But
it's fun.
This is actually that was one of the things. Maybe this is just it's me. Maybe it's me. Maybe this is what modern audiences like. But at the same time, I'm like, there are glaring problems that I cannot ignore with this, and then I'm like, that somebody should have said, "Hey, wait a minute. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense."
I don't know.
But maybe younger audiences, maybe they're willing to overlook this, but I don't think I am.
To me, it almost come off as a remake of the 2009 Star Trek movie. If you really look at the plot points and the beats, it's very similar. I don't know.
I like I said, I said it was the millennial Star Trek. Maybe that's a little harsh. And one of the things people have been bombarding me about with is that, I don't like the Kelvin. Why do I not like the Kelvin Trek? But I like this because it looks so much like Kelvin with the lens flares, blah, blah, blah. And, it looks totally different timeline like the Kelvin Trek. And what I would say is with the Kelvin Trek, I am not as forgiving with that as I am with this, because with the Kelvin Trek, you're trying to give me Kirk, Bones, Spock, Uhura, Sulu, Chekhov. And so I have a right to have expectations about that universe that has those characters in it. With this, as I said on the video I posted, all these characters are tabula rasa. They're all blank slates. You can do anything you want with them as long as it makes sense. And it doesn't, all the other stuff is incumbent upon me to cleanse my palate of, okay, I have to understand that we're not going to get a show that's going to look pre TOS, because as Craig said earlier, that's not going to fly. And we also have to understand that just like in TOS, I think Picard makes a reference to this. The way crew members would just not mutiny, but they would just flout the rules like Kirk did. He's a cowboy. It's many members of the crew, because they were going in uncharted territory. The rules were a little different for them in TOS. Well, now we're 10 years ahead of that. And the showrunners also said there's going to be conflict between the characters. And as much as it made me cringe to hear Burnham say, "We have to fire first, Captain," that's what they said they were going to give us. And, I found it a little refreshing. I found that a little refreshing. And I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm a huge Trek purist for the most part, but that does anyone got anything else to say? I'm riding with the show. I am all in on the show. Anyone else got anything else to say about this?
I just think that this show could end right at the end of the second episode. You just close the book on Michael Burnham. She's in prison for the rest of her natural life, and she becomes a footnote in Federation history. She pleads guilty. She's sentenced. You lock her in a cell. Clang. That's it. You never hear from her again. That's because it sort of came full circle, with everything that happened. If you think about it.
So does that mean you won't be watching next week?
Most likely no, because
wow.
I really do not want to pay for another service. I really do not.
Okay. Well,
that's my line in the sand.
Is that your reason? Okay. If you didn't have to pay for
I did not like it. These characters these characters were annoying. They were. It was utterly insipid. I mean, the entire show seemed like it was just built around what effect shots can we do where, and okay, we'll just try to tie it together with a story later. That was another thing. It seems like the story was just written on a cocktail napkin at lunch one day. Oh, hey guys, it'd be cool. Like there's a game we play. When I did improv, there's a game you play called the First Word game. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, where 3 people get together and somebody starts something and everybody says one word and you try to build the story, and where you get stuck is when someone says and that's what it kept seeming like. Someone was just saying and then and it was just that's where it kind of started to fall apart. I'm like, it seemed like they hit a wall and they had no way to write themselves out of it.
Okay, well here's a follow-up question. Are you going to watch the Orville instead?
Yes, I am.
Oh!
It's not an either or scenario, Q. They're two different things.
They're two different things, but at the same time, I find the Orville more satisfying. I find there was the episode last week felt more like I was watching an episode of The Next Generation.
Thank you.
And let me tell you, the one shot that encapsulated, the one shot that said to me, this Seth MacFarlane knows what he's doing, is the very last shot when you see the baby in the crib and she has the Rudolph toy. I'm like, I managed to out Roddenberry right there.
Rob, hearing you talk like that is like when you have a old high school buddy that you haven't seen in 20 years, and then you see him on Facebook and you see how he really feels.
You find out he's a rabid Trump supporter.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
No. Okay. I voted for Bernie Sanders.
We're not gonna. Let's not talk politics. We don't want to get that.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to go there.
That's a bailiwick. That's a bailiwick that we don't want to try to storm. Tom, are you gonna watch it again?
Yes, but I don't hold out a lot of hope. I would like to see what characters we get added after this, just to kind of see what they plan on doing with it. I'll probably kind of force 2 through Andre. Anyway, I'm sure Rob will probably have to deal with the same thing, at least for a few episodes. I didn't really... No, I mean, a lot of the ways you guys are putting some of the stuff, it's like, if it was set post-Nemesis, or like we've said before, if it was, obviously set in an alternate timeline, and this episode wasn't just so much almost beat for beat a remake of Star Trek 09, and actually looked more like Star Trek and less like Star Trek 09, then maybe I'd have been more into it.
Those are some big ifs there, pal.
Right, that's what I'm saying. A lot of it's like I just don't see it turning itself around that well, or at least getting out of a lot of the ruts it already put itself in. But I'm willing to give it a shot.
Do you have? Did you get CBS All Access or no?
I haven't yet, but a friend of mine had it, so I watched the one episode and I was just like, I don't know about this. But I have a feeling Andre is going to want me to get it.
Big Sexy, are you going to stick with Discovery?
I'll give it, another shot. Again, I didn't dislike it. I'm not, giving that impression. There are things that need to be changed, but again, this is the third or second episode coming up, and let's give it time to find its wheels. The first season of TNG, come on now. Yeah. That was crap. It was crap. So let's see what they can do here and let these characters all finally coalesce and see what they're going to flesh out a bit. But I will be bent if Burnham doesn't take a hit. I mean, reduction of rank, that has to happen.
Hey, she takes a hit. Did you see her hair when she was in the previews for the next show? It's like they must not have perm salons on this ship that she's going on, because
she can be a junior grade lieutenant with a f***ed up hairstyle. Then she does not need to be full commander.
Bust her down to yeoman.
So
I'm okay with that.
I forgot to ask Tom this, but I'll ask Tom and you, Big Sexy. Are you going to turn your back on Starfleet and pledge allegiance to the Orville?
Wait, see again, Q, you're making it
yes or no, Cadet.
It's not either or scenario. Cadet. I can work my PC, Cadet, all right? I can work Skype, Cadet. It is 2 different things. One is the Orville, the other is Star Trek. Why can't they coexist?
Because one is a blatant theft. But anyway,
Brandon Braga is
and
on,
the other is
was on the
Orville.
third one. And so that kind of
Oh!
What's that?
Shots fired.
Brandon Braga, what?
Brandon Braga directed and produced the last episode of Orville. So that's a cosign right there.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it wasn't stolen.
I apologize, but seriously.
Oh, what? No, I didn't hear. What did you say? I didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. He said, one's a blatant ripoff of Star Trek, and I said, and the other one's the Orville.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Hey now.
Oh,
Hey now.
man.
Oh my.
All right.
No, I'm not a Seth MacFarlane fan. Even Rob can attest to this. I barely like American Dad of all the things he's done. Ted was okay. Other than that, I really could care less about anything he's done. I have fallen in love with the Orville. It is more Star Trek to me than even like Enterprise was in some ways.
Oh, I'll give you that. I'll give you that all day.
But as far as like comparing that to this, the Orville gets the edge. If it comes down to it and I got to choose between one or the other, yeah. At this point anyway, especially only 2 or 3 episodes in for both.
Jesus. Okay. Craig, are you going to stick with Discovery?
I am going to stick with Discovery. I've signed up for CBS All Access, and I'll be sticking with the Orville. There, I said it.
Wait, A2? Craig?
Yes, both.
You and I were like together on this, how it sucked, the Orville.
I never said it sucked, did I? No way. I didn't say that.
You didn't say that, Q.
No, I didn't say that. I like the Orville.
To be fair, I didn't even care for the first episode that much. It was good. Yeah. I was like, we'll see. And then the second one was better, and the third one was like, I'm hooked now. So
I agree with that.
Agreed. Now, had all 3 been like the first, but second was better, third was better than the second.
Yep.
Q, did you watch the third episode?
I'm just gonna let that pause. That dead. It's not supposed to have dead air on radio. I'm just gonna let that lay there and marinate for a second.
Did you watch the third episode, Q?
I watched the third episode. Yes, I did.
And you didn't care for it.
I hated it.
Oh Lord.
Hated it. We're not going to get into that.
No. We're not going to get into that. You're wrong, but we're not going to get into it.
I mean, if I want to hear themes that have been done, if I want to see themes that have been done ad nauseum, and I mean that positively, on Star Trek, in every iteration of Star Trek, Voyager, TNG, DS9, maybe not TOS, they wouldn't have touched that in the 60s, but I'll just watch Star Trek. And the lane.
You mean you forgot the episode where Scotty wanted a sex change?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I had to let that one go.
Hey, but Mike, you know what I think?
Captain, I can't do it anymore. I need a skirt, and I'm not talking about a kilt.
There you go.
I think the story is that Seth MacFarlane spent a long time convincing the networks to do the Orville, and so it's very likely in my mind that he had no idea CBS was doing Discovery. I don't think he really meant it to come on at the same time and go up against it. I think he just wanted to make another Star Trek type of story and tell those same kinds of stories which have not been told for a long time.
Right.
That's my take on it.
If I'm not mistaken, Rob, did he not pitch a Star Trek show at one time?
Well, he was interviewed in 2003, and he had said that, not 2013, he had said that the one series he always wanted to do was Star Trek. And he said that he had wished that Paramount would give him the keys at the time. But unfortunately, he had tried to get permission to do a Star Trek series, and they had just rejected him flat. So this is his baby. I mean, this is his baby. Like I said, this is something he's always. There's two passion projects that Seth MacFarlane has: Star Trek and the Flintstones. And
why does that sound appropriate?
But he already said the Flintstones would just be a ripoff of Family Guy. So
yeah.
Hey, that's not funny.
I would like to see his Flintstones, actually.
That would be.
Barney, remember the time?
Hey, man. Betty started undressing, and I got an erection.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Listen, so I've got
I bet Orville runs more than Inhumans. There it is.
Well, we're not going to.
That's not a very high bar.
You already brought up our next topic on the Midnight's Edge After Dark podcast.
I can't wait to see
Is
that.
the Inhumans going to get canceled before it even premieres?
I thought that was already a done deal.
It's possible.
But listen, real quick. I want to pitch an idea. I'm going to pitch an idea because I have a few connections. I'm going to pitch this idea. Let me put it on over the air to you guys. So this is an exclusive, Red Shirts exclusive.
Yeah.
I'm going to pitch an idea where you have these guys, they're knights, right? And they dress in traditional Okinawan hakamas or gis, right? And they belong to this religious sect where they use this thing called the power, okay? And their weapons are called light swords. And all they have to do is press a button and this long sword comes up, right? And they fight all of the Death Lords who have fallen to the black side of the power.
I think I'd rather do a documentary about a radio station that goes up against the
funny?
And I'm gonna call it Battle Wars. I'm just as smart as Steph. I'm just as smart as Seth MacFarlane. Is it funny?
But is it funny?
That's
what matters.
I think the pitch in of itself is funny. I should get my ass thrown out of the room.
I totally get where you're coming.
Oblivion.
I totally get where you're coming from, but there's one problem with that argument.
What's that?
Spaceballs is a classic.
Oh,
I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
I'm glad. Listen,
the Orville has a completely free
Use
range.
the Schwartz.
Exactly. It can use the Schwartz, the Force, all it fucking wants.
Buckle this.
I love that. You're absolutely right. You know why Spaceballs and Galaxy Quest and any Jeff Zucker production works? Because it's one and done. It's one movie and they move on. They don't try to make money over a whole series with it. So
Except there was a Spaceballs cartoon.
There's actually more than one Naked Gun movie. It's two airplane movies.
So, that was based on a series. So there was a Spaceballs animated series on G4, I think it was on.
Really?
For like 10
I
or
need to
12
watch that.
episodes. It was on, I think, Hulu for a while, but I don't know if it is anymore. But yeah.
Well, okay.
I love those Zucker films.
Having said all that, I think we're going to wrap up here. I mean, you know what we've proven here is that I can be correct and everyone else can be wrong.
Oh, okay.
Captain's privilege. Well, listen, there you have it, folks. I forget, was it Wadsworth or was it Longfellow who said, "No man is an island"? Well, we proved him wrong.
And yet some men are peninsulas.
There you go.
There you go, Rob Longfellow. Oh my.
Yes.
Oh my.
So,
that is the wrong shifter.
Let us know how you feel, people. You know where I stand. The biggest thing I had was with the CBS All Access. I'm like, CBS, get your shit together. If you want me to download the app, then you should make the app look like what was on my laptop, so I know how to find CBS All Access. I go to Apple TV and I see this blue thing with the eye in it, and it says CBS Interactive. I'm like, well, that's not what I want. And I'm there 10 minutes pulling my hair. Then I go to CBS Interactive again, and in the tiny text on my screen, it says, you can watch CBS All Access through this app. Really? Oh, my God. CBS, get your together. But anyway.
Well, love it or hate it, that's one thing that Rob and I and Andre always expressed. The biggest disheartening part of this whole entire endeavor is it should have been on Netflix or at least Jesus Christ, I almost called it UPN. CW. It should be on at least either Netflix or CW instead of CBS trying to use this as their launch pad in quotations for CBS All Access.
Yes, that pisses me off too. It's like, don't take this thing that I love and use it as a chess piece. I mean, HBO figured it out. I said this on another show. HBO figured it out. I can watch HBO, or I can watch it on HBO Now or HBO Go. Hey, here's a thought. Put it on CBS and CBS All Access. I'm a genius.
Exactly. Yep.
And having said that, yes,
Actually, you want to know something? Like you talk about UPN. I don't know if you saw the news today. Paramount is rebranding. Viacom is rebranding the Spike TV network as the Paramount Network.
That's probably what made me think of it vicariously. Actually, Rob, it's funny you brought that up. But anyway,
yeah.
I wonder if we're gonna get. They're gonna put more Star Trek content on there. You think? Or
I hope that'd be my
not if CBS has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that rebranding.
Comcast is a big pissing match with Viacom too, so
they will lose.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. It was an interesting debate. I think we covered everything. We left no stones unturned. Well, my stones are a little turned, but anyway.
Ew.
Please leave your comments. Let me know how you feel. You can check Red Shirts out now. You can check us out on YouTube. If you just search under Red Shirts, a Star Trek podcast. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Tumblr. Check us out on Twitter. Red Shirts at RedShirts1701. And by all means, you can check us out on iTunes. Download us, subscribe to us, leave us a ratings and review. But while you're doing that, please, I implore you, go check out Midnight's Edge, featuring Robb Gallo and Tom Connors. And you have another compatriot, Andre. How do you pronounce his last name?
We've given up trying. It's just Andre.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Andre. He's our fearless leader.
Andre the Viking, because he's from Norway.
I can feel the love. But anyway, after you go to Midnight's Edge, check out Robb Gallo's channel, Robot Shlomo. Tom, you got something to promote, right? What do you got?
Well, besides Midnight's Edge, we have a sister channel called Midnight's Edge After Dark, where Rob and I,
is that like Cinemax
basically
or Skinemax?
Kinda, and that's where I must apologize for my potty mouth. I'm so used to Rob and I get going, and yeah, we're pretty bad sometimes. We've got some stuff on the cutting room floor that would probably put us in jail. But anyway, no, it's probably not that bad. But it's oh my, like I said, that's the wrong shifter, Sulu.
Wow.
No, yeah. That's the kind of stuff you're going to find there. But no, we really get into the corporate politics and try to do as best we can spin-free analysis of whatever's going on lately in the news. Kind of a laid-back version of the mini documentaries and editorials you're used to on Midnight's Edge, but it's in a more of a talk radio podcast form where we kind of just kick back and just talk about everything going on that we are into in the genres that we're in love with in the sci-fi and comic book type genres such as Star Trek and whatnot. And we also do reviews and have other kinds of videos over there. So check us out at Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark. And of course, Rob also has Robot Shlomo as well, where he does a lot of his own personal stuff. So yeah.
There you go. It sounds awesome. And you're talking about potty miles. Listen, I'll put Big Sexy up against any one of you guys any day of the week. Hey! Yeah, I said it.
Keep it whatever, that's fine. Just use like the tricorder or something like that over it and have fun with it.
Oh, Big Sexy keeps me on my toes. He always slips one past the goalie, if you know what I mean. So
I was talking about.
Hey now.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, Rob, again, Tom, again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun for us. And I'm going to... Saniqua, I will see you next week. All right. With that, we are out of here. Take care.
See you
Cheers,
later.
everyone.
Saniqua, I will see you next week. All right. With that, we are out of here.
She's gonna see me. I'm gonna see her next week, but she's not gonna see me if I play my cards right. So. I'll be in the bushes behind her house.
Oh my God!
Oh,
Just kidding. I have no idea where she lives. No, wink.
All right, listen. I want to save you. Goodbye, everybody. Red Shirts is not endorsed by Paramount Pictures, Viacom, or CBS. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. Star Trek, the Star Trek logo, and all names, pictures, and audio of Star Trek characters are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.